Hi, I'm Alex Paulton. I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Talking Timepieces, where we talk about watch collecting and horology. Today, we're going to go over a subject that I had promised to cover in my last video, and that was whether Chinese watches are worth the trouble. Are they crap? Are they good? Are there gems hidden in there? And I would say yes to almost all of those things, just like you could say that about any space. As I believe it was Theodore Sturgeon famously said, sure, 90% of science fiction is crap, but 90% of everything is crap. So just as you can find bad watches in China, you can find bad watches in Switzerland as well. The fact that China is a place where a lot of people go for manufacturing means that you're going to get a larger sample of product and a spectrum of product quality out of China, especially in the lower middle range where the tooling and the quality is good enough to make a competitive watch. There are some very, very good pieces, and there are channels like Just One More Watch who specialize in talking about that. And I actually, One More Watch, Just One More Watch guy over there, I forget his name off the top of my head, but I love the show. And he makes a perfect case for some of the excellent Chinese pieces out there that you can get your hands on. So let's flip the camera around and we'll look at the Seagull 1963. We'll look at my Reef Tiger Tourbillon and grab this Vostok and the Tiger and the Longines, and why not the Omega. And we'll flip the camera around and we'll talk about Chinese watches and are they worth it or not, and at least have some fun comparing watches. So here we are with these two very nice Chinese watches, and I thought we could compare them to a few of the other pieces in the collection. So let's zoom in a little bit and let's look a little bit more closely at each of these watches. This is the Seagull 1963. I just did a video on this. In fact, that's what's inspired me to do this video because, there we go. Because often you hear people disparage, Chinese products have always been disparaged famously over the decades. But it's interesting that China has such a bad reputation, and yet they make most of the products for most of the companies on the planet. You know, that same person who turns their nose up at a Chinese-made watch has got an iPhone in their pocket. So, that's a little bit of a disparity in application of technology appreciation, in my humble opinion. China does make a lot of crap, but then again, everybody makes a lot of crap. As Theodore Sturgeon famously said, sure, 90% of science fiction is garbage, but 90% of everything is garbage. I mean, I think he's a little bit rough in that. I'm closer to an 80-20 paradigm myself, but the bottom line is you can get crap product from anyone, and because China is such a huge manufacturing center, you're going to find the gamut of both. Now, looking at this a little bit more closely, right? Essentially, what we're looking at here is a column wheel, swan neck regulated, bicompax chronograph with hand wound with 21 jewels, right? So let's take a quick look at it from the back. Let me zoom in a little bit more. Oops, too far. It's a column wheel chronograph, right? So again, they put a nice big blued screw on it so you know that it's a column wheel. Now, to compare it to something, let's zoom back out a little bit. And let's grab this Longines. Right? Here's a Longines. This is actually Valjoux 7751. It's based on the Valjoux 7750, which is a cam chronograph, but Longines has a version modified for them by Swatch. Of course, the company is the ETA movement manufacturer is owned by Swatch, and so is Longines. So you could arguably say this is an in-house movement. But the bottom line is, see, there's the column wheel in there. And again, they know what they have, and they've highlighted it in blued steel as well. See, so there's the column wheel, and like I said, it's a modified 7750 because Longines, for their master collection, wanted something a little better than just a regular cam-operated system. But this is a $3,000 watch, and this is a $300 watch. So this has an insane value proposition. So now let's look at, say, for example, in the area of finish, right? Let's look at the watch I consider high horology in my collection. Let's look at the Jaeger-LeCoultre Polaris that I have, and let's look at how they handle the movement. So you see, look, there we go. And so you see, that's a very beautiful movement, and it's got gorgeous finishing, tungsten rotor, just really, really nice piece, 1,000-hour regulation, master control. But again, this is a $4,500 watch. And the Seagull compares with it. I mean, I wouldn't say that it compares badly at all. I mean, it's obvious that this is a lot of machine finishing going on, and here there's a lot of hand finishing going on. But the bottom line is that when you consider that this watch is an order of magnitude more expensive than this watch comes out quite well in comparison. So here we go. Let's put this one back down. Actually, here, let's do a quick little operation with the watch so you can see it in all its operating glory. Oops. So, very crisp, column wheel, hand wound, chronograph. Now, let's look at this one. This is a Reef Tiger. It's also a Seagull movement. Seagull now makes tourbillons. In the 50 or so years since it made the Venus modified movement, it's now gone on and made its own movements. And this tourbillon is an example of a good Chinese watch. Like I said, a lot of Chinese watches tend to look like what poor people think rich people's watches should look like, but that's mostly because of the companies that are ordering these watches from the Chinese manufacturers. If you go to, say, Alibaba and you look at the most popular Chinese watches, they're actually homages to Seamasters and Speedmasters and homages to all of the classic pieces, actually. You don't find a lot of, open filigree, open face movements with a lot of glitzy fake details on them. You find some really nice pieces out of China if you look. Like I said, this tourbillon, there's also a more in-depth video on this tourbillon, is a fully functioning flying tourbillon. Now, it's obviously machine finished and not hand finished. You can tell it looks like stampings or like machined fittings in there. But the bottom line is that for the price point, you just cannot touch it. I don't have a tourbillon to even compare it from Switzerland, because to touch a tourbillon out of Europe would cost you at least 20,000 euros, and you can get this watch for like anywhere between I believe 700 and 1,000 bucks, depending on where you find it and how you look for it. And I put it on this Milanese strap to really bring it out. It's just a classy presentation, nice piece. Now, let's take a look at the back for a second, and you see it's not badly finished at all. It's got, these are machine waves, but the bottom line is that they took the time, trouble, effort, and energy to make it look reasonably good. And if you look at the video I shot on this, I compare it to Junghans, which has got a very similar case shape. But, like, for example, let's compare it to, say, another Asian piece. Here's a Seiko spring drive, the first Seiko spring drive. That's why it says Seiko and not Grand Seiko on it. And you see there's They're both really clean. Obviously, the fit and finish on the Seiko is much, much higher. But, you're not talking about a cluttered face on the Reef Tiger. You're not talking about a bad face. It's got a nice sun ray effect going on there. The tourbillon is tastefully shown. The indices are bright and well applied. And so, you compare it to something, like I said, this $3,000 Seiko spring drive, and frankly, this comes out way more, nicely as far as comparison. Because if I was at a event and wearing one or the other of these watches, I've gotten more people who think that this is the more expensive watch than this. So this Reef Tiger really, really shows how you can get some good quality out of a Chinese company. And frankly, one of the things I don't like about this spring drive is Seiko seems to have an aversion for lume in anything but sports watches. And I personally believe that a daily wear watch should have lume. But, in the case of a dress watch, I mean, this is obviously a dressier piece, not even shooting for lume. This is more of a sports watch. This should have had lume. You look compare it to this. This is, of course, more of a dressier piece. It's designed for Chinese officers and the like, and it's blued hands, right? See, so in that case, I would forgive it, because also it's a white face, dark hands, highly legible. The Seiko's got a dark face, no lume. It's only visible in daylight. So again, the Chinese watches are really, really great values, and they can provide an excellent, excellent way to get into watch collecting with good quality mechanical watches with high complications for reasonable price points. So let's flip the camera around and close out the episode. So that was my take on Chinese watches, and comparing them to some of the other more expensive alternatives that exist in the marketplace. And as you see, the Chinese watches don't hold up all that badly compared to watches costing 10 times as much. I mean, I'm not going to say that these are fantastic pieces compared to, say, an Omega, and that you should get a Seagull instead of something from Switzerland. But what I am saying is that don't discount these pieces. They're worth the money. They're not that expensive. And you could do a lot worse. These are really nice pieces, and they'll go a long way in your collection. Thanks for taking the time to listen, and I'd love to hear your opinions. Leave some in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe.